Uncle Trev and the Earthquake by Jack Lasenby. Did you feel the earthquake last week? Uncle Trev asked me. Yeah, I said. Just a little bump. It was a big bump out on the farm, said Uncle Trev. Right under the cowshed. Cows have all stopped giving milk and the chooks have stopped laying. It's a pretty big earthquake, said Uncle Trev. Out on the farm. Of course, you don't have earthquakes like that. Not here in Waharoa. Do you know, my creek turned round and ran the opposite way for 24 hours. The eels were so confused. They didn't know whether to swim upstream or down, so they crawled out onto the bank and waited for the creek to make up its mind. He paused and thought for a moment. It was a huge earthquake, he said. Of course, we get some big ones out on the farm. It hit so hard last week, shook several blackbirds and a hawk out of the sky. Blackbirds fell on the ground and stuck there, but the hawk, he just shook his head and walked towards wherever he was going. Suppose he thought it was safer. You don't get earthquakes that size in Waharoa. We had a big one the year I was born, I said. Mum told me. That'd be the Napier earthquake, said Uncle Trev. You only felt the echo of that here in Waharoa. Out on the farm, well, the weeping willows were bent and shaken so hard they swept the ground beneath them, clean of grass, as clean as a footpath. What did old Tip do in the earthquake? I asked. Slipped right through it, said Uncle Trev. Called out to him to come and watch the hills swaying against the sky. He pretended he was asleep. He was in my chair, you see. He takes a bit to get old Tip to move, once he's in there. He doesn't like giving up the chair. Of course, he's lived through a few decent-sized shakes out on the farm, so he's not easily excited, old Tip. Old Toot, though, he had a good gallop around his paddock. The only trouble was, the ground kept shifting, so when he finished galloping, he was standing in the same place where he had started. Made him look a bit silly. But he doesn't mind that. Quite enjoys an earthquake, does old Toot. There was one thing a bit odd about the earthquake last week, said Uncle Trev. Yeah, I said. Well, I'm not sure I've got it right yet. What is it? It's not quite clear. It'll take a while for me to be sure. What will take a while? I asked. Well, said Uncle Trev, it's like this. Ever since the earthquake, I've been getting Gotta Henry's bread and letters in my mailbox. Squeaker Watson's been getting my letters, my Herald, and my weekly news. His have been turning up in the mailbox down the road in front of Billy Burns's farm. Well, that just means the mailman's got your boxes mixed, I said. Yeah, I thought that, said Uncle Trev. Then I looked at the names in the mailboxes. You know, mailbox on my gate had Gotta Henry's name on it. Go on, I said. My name was on Squeaker Watson's, and his was on Billy Burns's. Yeah, I said. Well, can't you see what it means? Well, no. Uncle Trev looked at me. He blew out his moustache impatiently. What it means, he said, is the whole of that stretch of ground the road is built on, it must have slid sideways in the earthquake. Slid my mailbox along in front of Squeaker's place. Slid Gotta Henry's along in front of mine, and slid his along in front of Billy's. Shifted the whole road north about 2 miles. Why didn't it shift the farms? I asked. Don't ask me, said Uncle Trev. Earthquakes are unpredictable brutes. Could it really slide the road north without moving your farms? I asked. Well, this one did, said Uncle Trev. And I'll tell you what, I've been up the end of the road to have a look. It finishes about 2 miles short of where it used to. The road used to end at the foot of the hills. Now you can only see them off in the distance. Oh, I couldn't have shifted it like that. Will you tell me how 2 miles of road could vanish, said Uncle Trev. Not only that, but I finished up with Gotta Henry's front fence. Must have been dragged along with the road when it slipped sideways. I can tell it's his house, because his gate's hinged on the other side, and it doesn't quite fit the wheel tracks up to my place. So what are you going to do about it? I asked. Do about it? What can we do about it? If we shift the fences and gates and mailboxes, an earthquake's just as likely to come and shift them back again. As for the road, well, you can't tow 2 miles of road back into place. Nah, it's gone for good, I'm afraid. Uncle Trev shook his head. I'm off down to the store, he said. I've got to buy some more paint. Well, what for? I asked. To paint my own name on the mailbox at my gate. I'll paint over Gotta's name and put on my own. Might as well do it for everybody down our road while I'm at it. When Mum came home, I told her about the earthquake and how it had shifted Uncle Trev's road. Earthquake? Nonsense, she said. They're playing tricks on Mr. Henry again. Your uncle and those friends of his, that Squeaker Turner and that Billy Burns. They printed their names on other mailboxes just to convince Mr. Henry the road had shifted in the earthquake. Now they're painting the right names back again. I know the sort of things that they get up to. I can see through their little games. But Uncle Trev says the gate doesn't fit in front of his place anymore, I said. He said he gets really big earthquakes out there. Mum was sprinkling some starched washing before she ironed it out. She shook the bottle with the sprinkler over the tablecloth so vigorously I felt drops of water from where I was sitting. That uncle of yours and his friends put half the work into their farms that they put into their practical jokes, she said, sprinkling water all over me. They'd be millionaires by now. She rolled up the damp things and gave them a wallop with the flat of her hand. Now, she said, I'm just popping over to Mrs. Kemp's to return that cup of sugar I borrowed from her this morning. I heard her go out the back. Mum never believed Uncle Trev. She didn't really believe in earthquakes either. Someday, I thought, we might get a big one, a monster like the ones Uncle Trev's got out on the farm. That'd show Mum.